What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mondays with Vish. My name is Grant Cohn. That is Vish Kumaran. And we're going to talk about this game, these practices. Vish saw the game. We've all seen the game. Vish, how are you?
I'm doing well, Grant. How are you?
I'm great. I don't want to mess around. I want to get right into the show. The new thing that people are doing is leaving donations before the show even starts.
Yeah,
So
I can
we
see
have
that.
we have 6 topics. You guys are free to hijack the show whenever you want with your donations, which we will address and answer as they come in. So we have 2 so far, or
You
3.
have like 4, bro.
Yeah, 4. Sean says, "My man Grant, thank you for all you do. Please call out Kyle and ask never to send Trey out with the twos again. Let Trey eat." I'm working on it, man. I've been doing the best I can on Twitter in person. Let's see if he's listening to quality control. I don't know. Seems like a fair request. Stefano says, I think you were suffering from disconfirmation bias, Relance. He's been worse in situational drills and looked less ready than Jimmy in preseason. It's fine to change your mind with new evidence. First of all, Stefano, you're not even there. Second of all,
I know who's reporting he's going off for
I
the
know.
situation.
I think he's basing his information off a certain spreadsheet. All I'm saying is, let's see what Lance can do when you put him with the starters. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And one thing I will say in regards to looking less ready than Jimmy in preseason, Jimmy played 1 drive. Can you imagine if they stopped Lance after his second drive and he only played 2 drives and finished the game 1 for 2, 80 yards and a touchdown?
That's a good point. That is a good point.
The game, it got worse. And then in regards to situational drills, we'll talk about it more in later in the show, but there's specific things that Lance does really, really well that maybe those drills and Saturday's preseason game didn't get to highlight as much.
Yeah. Jody says, here's $5. Thank you, Jody. That was a hell of a comment. Some of my favorite comments. He's here. He is. I guess he messed up. I appreciate you, though, for the another 5. He says, do you think Shanny wanted to use game to expose on film what Trey needs to work on? He is more concerned with getting him NFL ready than look good. I think it's clear that Kyle Shanahan wants Trey to get as much reps in the pocket as possible because pocket passing requires experience. That's admirable. I just feel like
he might not get that experience during the season, right?
True. We're gonna talk about that. I'm just saying, when your franchise quarterback gets the 2nd sack in a preseason game, you might want to make some kind of adjustment because those sacks don't need to happen. That's all I was saying. All I'm saying. But
I think it's fair, but also I think that it's really not that big of a deal because he did scheme up that deep shot for him early in that game. I mean, he schemed up 2. Right, nice. He schemed out 2. Somehow Rich Madrid got the all 22, so he posted the first play.
Dude, you got to know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to know Rich. I'm trying to know the guy that Rich knows, so I can get
Rich just became my best friend. Rich, let's talk.
No, but he schemed up deep shots early for him to hit him and make him look good, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a preseason game at the end of the day. Like, he's not going to be the Bears running Y-League for Justin Fields, to throw a 35-yard touchdown to Jesse James. I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
To be fair, Kyle Shanahan schemed up some deep shots for Jimmy Garoppolo too. Let's be fair. Wait.
He did?
He didn't. Todd99 says, got it. Response to Kyle. In your head, you were thinking, Kyle, let's be real. If they're not playing, it's a setback. Say setback every presser. Yeah, that's my question to Kyle Shanahan about.
I saw just last night. I saw the little interaction, the back and forth, and honestly, I thought it was overblown. I thought it was overblown. Yeah,
that's how me and Kyle do. Like when I look, if you ask Kyle Shanahan why did you do something that didn't work out, he gets defensive, and then the next day you can do business with him. I like Kyle Shanahan a lot. It never lingers. It's always like. I know if I come at him like that, I know the kind of response I'm going to get, and it's fine. I think it's dramatic. I like it.
But the definition of what's testy, I think, has kind of changed. Like in a Jim Harbaugh presser, I feel like that would be just a standard question and answer. Yeah. With Kyle Shanahan, all of a sudden, he wasn't disrespectful in any way. You just didn't want to give into your probing.
Yeah, he just didn't give an answer, and I appreciated everything he did. I got the thing firsthand on my little iPhone, put it on YouTube. It was good content. Thank you, Kyle. Brian says, you're so late. My phone went to sleep. My computer just did a random firmware update. The BIOS are updated. So I guess I got that going for me.
Yeah, this one's not on Vish. Vish doesn't have work for an entire week. So Vish will be on time.
Kyle's last response to you, STFU Grant, laugh my ass off classic. Yeah, that's cool. I like Kyle. I have a good time with him. I'm just saying sometimes I would appreciate to get Mike McDaniel because you could ask the same question to him and he'll answer it. Like, Mike, why did you decide that keeping him in the pocket behind a second string offensive line so he could take 4 sacks was the best move today? He would look at you and be like, that's a fair question. Let me do my best to answer it. I appreciate that. Kyle getting defensive is fun. I don't I like it. It's just it's more like performative than informative. That's all I'm going to say. David says, does Lance throw the ball too hard? Chris Sims alluded to that, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he has only one throw, and it's a rifle.
It's
all. I asked you that. I asked you that, and you said, yeah, that's a fair criticism in practice too.
And like I feel like his inaccuracy is the same thing from like pitchers in baseball who come in throwing their hardest. Like, okay, you don't throw 92, you throw 97. That's great, but you don't know where the ball's going. And it's like, maybe I'll throw a strike sometimes. And that's how a lot of people have success that way. I'm just saying maybe as Lance matures, he can learn that he can take stuff off because Mahomes certainly does. Allen certainly does.
Allen does. But one thing, it's important, obviously, this isn't, I would say, a criticism because you can still be a very successful quarterback, maybe, throwing the ball very hard. But Sims did say it is difficult to develop all the kinds of throws and naturally, somebody like Brady from day one, he's always throwing the appropriate ball for the appropriate throw. Like that was evident. That's why they call it a catchable ball.
True.
And might not. I mean, he God's gifted him with every other talent. So Jimmy does. Yeah, Jimmy.
Ball. It's almost too catchable.
No, but especially Jimmy. If you remember when he first came to the 49ers, he was excellent at putting pace on the ball, taking pace off the ball, all those kinds of things, throwing with touch, all of that.
Yeah.
It's been a little less because now he's got kind of that flat line, kind of floater-ish. That's kind of his standard throw, but
it's interesting that Chris Sims brings this up. I think I've told you about this. I don't know if you've seen the video, but there's a video of Phil Sims talking about him getting worked out by Bill Walsh before the draft. That was Bill Walsh's target. Phil Sims, he ended up getting drafted by the Giants before the Niners could get him. But he said that he had a big arm and he was trying to show off for Bill and show him all his velocity. And Bill was like, oh, no. Ooh, that's too hard. That's too. And like Phil, it's like giggled. Like, I've never heard any coach ever say that. Like they're all drooling over my arm strength. Bill's over here being like, no, come take a little off. You want it to be catchable. So I think Bill Walsh, if he were alive, would be probably looking at the same thing. It's a fair thing to look at. But the thing that's exciting about Trey Lance is he's 21 and he seems to be able to. Everything's new to him. He's like he seems like he can pick these things up quickly. So let's see. But it's something to look for.
Yeah.
Grant, please let the faithful know how the stadium got once E40 was getting it on the Jumbotron. All I got to say is E40, you can retire now, dude. You're in your 50s. Like, you're the hardest working rapper of all time. You never pass up a Warrior game, a Niner game. You're always out there marketing yourself. I respect the grind, dude. But, like, enjoy yourself, dude. You're in your 50s.
Bang, bang, Niner game.
See you. Do you think Mac Dre would be doing that right now if he were alive? I don't know. Too Short isn't doing all that. Come on. Just saying. I don't know my man on the right, but he's always on point with everything he spits. Grant, you too. Much respect. Thank you. Yes, that's why Vish.
Appreciate it. I'm Vish. Nice to meet you.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's start our show. That's the first time you saw Vish. That's the first time, Vish, you saw Trey Lance in a Niners uniform in a semi-real game. What'd you think?
I thought it was good. Mm-hmm. I know that there were a lot of people that were a little bit up and down and nitpicking, specifically pointing out dropped interceptions. I mean, we've seen dropped interceptions from a quarterback before from the 49ers. I'm not singling out. This isn't a subliminal shot at Jimmy G. I'm saying in general, we've seen dropped interceptions and we've seen quarterbacks, with more experience and less rawness than Trey Lance miss underneath coverage and be late over the middle of the field. We don't immediately blame that on the number of starts they have, even though Jimmy G is a guy with a less number of starts for a guy at his age too. But when he does those things, we don't blame it on rawness. We just say he made a mistake. And I think that's what those were. But I thought he played pretty well. I mean, everything that you wanted to see about him was right there on display. You could see how athletic he was. And he didn't even have to run to show that. I mean, the first play to Brandon Ayuk, the way he climbed the pocket, how explosive he was. If he didn't throw that rocket that hit Brandon Ayuk in the chest, it felt like he could probably run for 20 yards on that. He was exploding out of a cannon.
Yep.
Then you saw the arm strength, right? His two best throws, the Ayuk rocket and then the rocket to Richie James near the sideline, both were dropped. But then the Richie James, you saw the timing, the ability when his back foot hit the ground to throw the out with great trajectory, timing, and there was touch on that ball. It landed right there for Richie James. It was a great ball on 3rd and 8. So that was phenomenal. I thought he played well. I really did. I know a lot of people have reservations, but it was as advertised. You saw the arm strength. You saw the ability to throw the ball down the field on a rope. You saw how comfortable he was in play action, which is something that's super cool to see from a young quarterback. Every time he was in play action, he's so explosive coming out of his drop, locating the safeties, and very quick and decisive in knowing where to go with the football. Then you saw aspects of, I thought, things that, were, again, you see these things at NDSU, a little bit more maturity than he has. And to me, one of his best plays and most underrated plays, at least, again, I didn't get the all 22, so I'm trying to get it. I tweeted at Rich, but I watched the broadcast angle, and if you watched, I think before they kicked the field goal, I think on Trey Lance's 3rd drive, Diamador Lenore had just gotten the interception. They had like a 3rd and 7. He was under heavy pressure. The offensive line got whipped, and he's reading the front side of the play, and his checkdown's on the backside, and he's got somebody right on him, and he locates his check down to the backside and throws a really accurate ball to Wayne Gallman. It was a 3-yard gain, but it's the difference between him taking a sack and losing 7 yards and him getting 3-yard gain. He just gave you 10 extra yards for your kicker to kick the field goal. So that's a veteran quarterback thing, locating your check down, not taking a sack that, again, a lot of quarterbacks don't do, and he did it. So I thought that was great. I really thought, again, as advertised is the word I keep coming back to. Obviously, he had the 3 drops. I thought the 3 drops, I saw it a little differently than other people. I excuse the Craycraft drop a little bit. He threw a duck to Craycraft. It was a hard ball to catch near the sideline when he's coming back to the ball, that kind of duck. But then I thought the Richie James throw over the middle that Richie James didn't even go for, I thought that was not on Trey Lance. To me, that was just an absolute cannon that went straight over the middle of the field. To me, at least, again, I'm watching the broadcast view. To me, it looked like if Richie James puts his hands out, it's hitting him right in the hands. I think he didn't want any part of that football because, that ball was an absolute rocket over the middle. Debo was snatching that and running for 20 yards. But, that was a rocket over the middle. I got, there were a couple of things I thought maybe that were less refined. Like, for example, one of the things that I harped on a lot before the draft is that I felt he wasn't the most refined drop back passer. I felt that his drop back passing in the rawness was shown when he played yesterday. I thought he looked a little bit rushed in the 2-minute drill in terms of knowing when to throw the ball. Now, to be fair to him, he played behind an awful offensive line that put him under pressure every single play. Not pressure, was just he was under duress every single play. He was getting hounded. So maybe that's what was rushing him. But to me, he played a little too fast in the 2-minute drill as a drop back passer. And then I thought in general, it was just more natural for him to go through the play action aspect of it. Those were things you saw in college. But then, you get the aspect of that 3rd and 8 when he throws the out to Richie James. So you get glimpses of how he could get so much better at the drop back passing angle of it. So that's one thing. And then finally, the other thing, and I think a couple other people have pointed it out, and I don't know how much of a big deal this is, but it's just an observation. He doesn't throw a spiral. He throws kind of wobblers, but it's crazy he throws wobblers because the ball, how fast does it get to receivers, Grant? And this is basic physics. Football is more aerodynamic when it's spinning as a spiral than it is as a wobbler. Right. So it's crazy to me how fast his balls get to receivers, even though the ball wobbles a little bit. Yep. And there was inaccuracies, right? Like the Charlie Warner throw when he was coming across the middle of the field. He kind of one-hopped it during the 2-minute drill. There were a couple other throws that he missed here and there, but overall, it was as advertised, and we didn't even get to see the running element that he's going to add. I think it should be all excitement because you could see the clear physical difference between him and every other quarterback on the field outside of Patrick Mahomes. He was just faster, more explosive, stronger arm, everything. It just jumps off the screen.
Okay, that was great. Let me tell you what I thought. I was so frustrated by the whole experience. It's preseason. It's always frustrating. I thought he looked terrific when he had the starters that were playing around him. It was 2 throws, but one of them was that beautiful off-schedule extended play to the right, throwing on the run. That was really That was a preview of what it's going to look like. And then the next one was the half roll to the left, throwback to the right. I mean, that was great. And then I felt from from there on out, it was like, I mean, hard to say much other than he needs pass protection. Didn't get it. So I guess that's frustrating, but I'm kind of like putting all that to the side, and I'm trying to explain why I feel like I've seen enough, even though he hasn't had any reps with the starters. I've seen enough. He gives the Niners the best chance to win. The talent difference is so stark. It's so obvious. I mean, doesn't it jump out right away?
Yeah, it jumps off. And it's nothing against Jimmy Garoppolo, who's talented enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's a pretty talented quarterback. It's just that this guy is freaky.
Obvious. So let me just explain. Like, people will be like, okay, but you got to win from the pocket. But you got to be nuanced. I disagree. The way I feel is that the pocket is essentially extinct, and that you need to be proficient from the pocket and make like 2/3 of your throws from the pocket if you're mobile, but still, like, pass protection in the NFL sucks, and it gets worse every year. The pass rushers are fantastic. The pass blockers aren't that good. It's a dangerous place to be unless you're Tom Brady unless you're extremely experienced and you know all the tricks that the defense is going to do, the pressures, the disguised coverages. It's very hard. You need a ton of experience. Jimmy doesn't have it. Tom Brady does. Trey doesn't have it. So anytime he's in the pocket, his inexperience is going to be accentuated and the defense is going to have the advantage. But what's cool about him, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, all of these young guys who can run, you know that they can have experience early on is because once they break the pocket, whether it's on a design bootleg or a scramble, they get the advantage. The game tilts in their favor because all of a sudden the blitzes, forget them. Disguised coverages, forget them. If it was zone, now everyone's just trying to find a guy and plaster him. And now you're just trying to hang on. It's playground football. And you got a guy like Trey Lance who can stop and throw anywhere over the field or run. That is what you want in today's NFL. I think the pocket, unless you have great pass protection, which the Niners don't have, you need what Trey Lance is bringing to the field in 2021.
Yeah, 100%,
and Jimmy doesn't have it.
100%. And I think it's a necessity in general. I mean, Kirk Cousins is a guy that offers as much as anybody on structure and on time in a play, but he can't offer you. He offers next to nothing off schedule, and it's not just a matter of athleticism or arm strength. You know, it's also that playmaking aspect. Like, do you have that playmaking ability to be able to break? Like, Patrick Mahomes isn't the most athletic guy, but he has this very natural make you miss kind of ability to get outside of the pocket and get out. Right. It's such a very natural thing. I think he would run like a 4.8, 5.40, but he has a really natural way of doing it.
And once he does, he just toys with defenses, man. Sorry to interrupt you. He just toys with defense, and Trey will too. And that's the thing. Like, as good as Jimmy can continue to get experience and improve from the pocket, and he will eventually, but he'll never have that outside the pocket thing. That's where the big plays come from. In today's NFL. That's what they do.
And you know, I'm honestly shocked that I thought there was a little bit of a little more negative reaction about Trey Lance's day in general than I thought. Like, I mean, if you watched him in college and then you've been seeing, like, to me, he was as advertised, which is exciting, right? He showed every physical trait that you want in a quarterback. Obviously, again, the drop back
experience is going to show up. Yes.
Yeah, it's something he didn't do in college, but I don't think that's a reason that, I mean, not to get into the starting, but like him missing underneath coverage on one play and missing a lurking corner. It's like,
it's bound to happen.
It's not going to be perfect. That's what I'm saying. No quarterback is going to be perfect. Like, if you're going to tell me that him missing an underneath coverage is a reason not to start him, and I don't want to start off the show by being negative about Garoppolo, or this isn't a shot at Garoppolo. This is just an example of a fact. Garoppolo missed underneath coverage multiple times. I mean, go back to his Jalen Ramsey pick in the second Rams game. He misses underneath lurking defenders. And then
he got picked by Fred Warner today.
Yeah, being late over the middle of the field, right? It's a common mistake. Garoppolo was late over the middle of the field. I mean, the Jordan Hicks pick versus the Cardinals, that comes to mind. Where he doesn't.
That was the pick today. That was the pick today. Yes.
Oh, really? He threw it straight to him?
Oh, yeah, right to him. Okay. Over the middle.
Yeah, but see, my point is more so to say. Yeah, my point isn't to say, like, hey, Garoppolo does these things too. Ha, Garoppolo's bad. No. The point here is to say, that just because Lance had a couple of missteps in his first game, those 2 missteps shouldn't be reasons why to say just write him off and say, oh, he shouldn't play and he shouldn't do these things.
He's
because
not ready in the
obviously
pocket.
Garoppolo is the easiest example for us, but I can bring examples of a lot of different quarterbacks that are starting in the NFL and have started the last 2 years that make similar mistakes, and they're not adding the elements that he does in the run game, which we haven't even seen, and the off-schedule stuff, which we didn't even get to see.
Real quick, before we move on, who was the last quarterback that came into the league that was just a pocket quarterback, didn't offer anything outside of it, and was really good? Matt Ryan?
Josh Rosen?
No.
Oh,
it was
really
good.
Really good.
It was good. Like Matt Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah. That hasn't been one since Matt Ryan. Like Andrew Luck definitely could get outside the pocket. Baker Mayfield. Every single quarterback who's been good since like 2008 has been able to get outside the pocket, right? I think it's fair to acknowledge that this is where the NFL is now. And it's like, no offense to Jimmy, but you're a dinosaur. And I think the only place in the league that you can succeed playing Jimmy style is New England. I don't even know if they're going to really win a Super Bowl with, playing like that anymore. But anyway, let's move on. Jody says, keep it 100, keep it 100, Grant. Okay. Any buyer's remorse? Do you regret passing on Justin? Compare the two. I still believe in Trey. Do you? No, I still think they made the right call.
I'm the resident Justin Fields fan. Yeah. I was the one who wanted him before the draft, not Grant. Grant wanted Trey Lance. And I don't think that anything about that first game should tell you that they made the mistake. Justin Fields, the majority of his plays were outside of the pocket, and we
were just comparing him to Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah,
Justin, and I feel like Trey Lance has a higher upside than that.
Okay, I think he has a higher upside, maybe, but it's not just my point. More so is to say that I felt like Trey Lance, if you got him outside of the pocket, right, and you let him kind of
do
operate in more of a freelance way, and what Justin Fields, he could have had a similar day. And even Justin Fields' day, right, like that Y-League touchdown and the touchdown run, it all made it look a lot better than it is. But overall,
it was deep in the third quarter too.
It was a solid day. It was solid.
Yeah. Brian, no, I'm not changing my opinion on any of these quarterbacks. Brian says, we all keep talking about Kyle's scheme. Can you tell us what the OC role under Kyle is actually doing? Do we know yet? That's a fair question. I mean, he gives good answers. He's smart. I think we'll never really know what the delineation is, but I think he's been working with Kyle every step of the way, so I'm sure he's important. He does a lot of the game planning, the film work. He's important. He just doesn't call the plays. Does the legwork.
I mean, they're never going to tell us that.
Yeah. Gammon says, Vish, top 2 issues that plagued last year's offense. Poorest O-line pass pro, drop passes by wide receivers, Lancelot throws have a spiral 50% of the time. Yeah. Well, they're going to have to get some wide receivers who can catch the ball. And Travis Benjamin and Richie James ain't
I mean, the quarterback also was one of the things that plagued the offense last year. Sorry, Grant. I got to take
No. You're right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Mike says Trey Lance should have been 8-14 with about 150 yards with a TD, counting the drops. And if you count those 2 screens that went backwards, that would have been a 10-16. If that's his stat line, people will be going insane. Yeah, it's all people are overreacting to preseason. It's freaking preseason. Honestly, the stuff after the first 2 throws, it's like, man, that's just him getting experience and getting beaten up a little bit.
I wasn't even aware that he was 5 for 14 until I looked at the box score. I didn't think it looked anywhere near as ugly as 5 for 14. Sure, I mean, your guy Kellen Mond's another example because I spent the entire weekend watching other quarterbacks. I think Kellen Mond was well under 50%. That's what happens if they can't block for you and you have nobody really getting open. Justin Fields started off slow too when they were struggling to block for him, and his receivers weren't getting an ounce of separation.
Kellen Mond's another quarterback who's going to have success when he gets an opportunity because he can get outside the pocket. It's all about that. I mean, it doesn't mean that he'll have long-term success, but he can have early success. That's what the key in the NFL. Early success, get outside the pocket. Now, the game has changed. It's way simpler. It's backyard football. This O-line is scary. I don't care who plays quarterback. It's bad. The right side is still horrible. Yup. We're going to talk about that later. That's one of our topics. Yep.
I thought the starters were okay. I mean, if you want to talk about Dan,
it's the depth.
Yeah, it's the depth. We're going to talk about the Dan Brunskill play. Like, come on, Chris Jones does that to 30 out of 32 guards in the NFL.
And he stepped on Trey Sermon's foot.
Yeah, on Trey Sermon's foot. Yeah.
I didn't see that from the press box. Robert says Kyle hasn't even unleashed Trey yet. Just wait, you see. Oh, he's done it in practice. I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. Hold on. Anthony says, with the O-line being so poor, any chance Jimmy Garbaggio takes a pay cut to free up some cap space and add some extra quality protection up front? Yeah, I think that's another reason to start Trey Lance week 1 is it allows the Niners to approach Jimmy Garoppolo and be like, look, you lost. Will you take a pay cut? I think they're probably positioning themselves. I didn't listen to the TV copy, but apparently it sounded like John Lynch was really excited about Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
He was excited about everybody.
Yeah. Melvin says, why are the Niners receivers always dropping balls at the start of our Super Bowl season? We had the same freaking problem, but thank God we had Emmanuel Sanders to boost the guy's confidence. I don't know. I think it's a confidence issue.
They're young receivers, right?
Juwan Jennings has good hands. Jalen Hurd has good hands. Not a good.
Ayuk has good hands. Debo has good hands.
Yeah.
I mean
they're not at the Dwelly caliber, but who is it?
Who is?
Come on. Love Mondays with Vish. Love you, Brian. Thank you very much. I love Mondays with Vish too. Ellis says, aside from the legitimate concern Lance gets hurt, from a fan perspective, shouldn't we be happy our coach goes to such lengths to keep things secret, even to the point he shoots you eye daggers for being right, doing your job? Yeah, of course. No, I'm sure he's thinking, look, I need to get him reps in the pocket. It's his weakness. I feel that, man. Just don't get him hurt in the process, please. Please. I don't even work for you or the team. I'm just trying to look out for both sides here. But no, I feel that. I do. And I like Kyle, even when he gets snippy with me. It's okay. I can take it. And I like that he knows that I can take it. I mean, it's not personal. It's just who he is. So if Kyle only wants Trey to have reps from the pocket, then give him a pocket to throw from. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kyle set him up to fail and got hurt. Well, thank goodness he didn't get hurt. That's a testament to Trey being a baller.
But he also, to be fair to him, also, it seemed like he didn't try too hard when there was a busted protection or anything to escape it and make something happen. He also just went down. He clearly had an understanding of the situation.
And I bet you at some point they're going to let him break the line of scrimmage like they do in practice. It's fair to note that every day in practice, his first play from scrimmage is his zone read where he keeps the ball. So him doing all this work from the pocket, it's like, a third of what he does. And he's doing okay for a 21-year-old. Anyways, 7NP says, do you feel like Kyle Shanahan isn't the right coach in the way Garoppolo isn't the quarterback? He's a genius, but maybe, like you say, he's not a good decision maker. Look, what I want to say with Kyle, I'm not writing him off yet. What I want to say with Kyle, what I'm interested in is I want to see what kind of mentor he is. Like, I'd like to think that I'm a good mentor. You're 21 years old. I'd like to think that I've brought you along, and you're great.
You're a great mentor,
Trey Lance.
Grant.
So I'd like to think I'm a good mentor. I'm positive. I give, I don't know. I like to think I bring the best out of you. I'd like to see Kyle do that too. I'd like to see Kyle do that with Trey too, because he does a good job keeping it real with vets and not sugarcoating it. 21-year-olds are a little different. You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily need to tell them like, hey, you suck. Let's get better. Like that I think more the kind of thing is, I think you can be great. Here's how we're gonna get you there. That's how Robert Saleh approaches it. I'm not saying Kyle can't do it. He didn't get a chance with Johnny Manziel. There was nothing he could say to that kid. But and Robert Griffin got hurt. So this is his first real opportunity. I'd like to see him do well, and I think he can.
And to be fair, yeah. I think Trey Lance is the 21-year-old that you don't have to tell him, I think you can be great or whatever. I think he's so sure of himself. I mean, his maturity, I keep saying it, and maybe it's because I can fully identify with it because he and I are a few months apart in terms of age, but the way he answers questions, the way he carries himself, the way he expresses himself, all of that, it's unbelievable. Like, I wish I was that mature.
The media's been like not complaining, but like noticing that he doesn't give super interesting answers. But there's a difference between like Kaepernick, who was a little hostile about it because I think he was a little introverted, and Lance. Lance is more like Fred Warner. Like, he's saying the right thing. It's not entertaining, but it's leadership, it's maturity. He's saying the right thing, and
he's answering the questions.
Yes, yeah, I respect that. Yeah. It's not his job to freaking entertain us. That's what George Kittle does. And Jimmy Ward. James Foster says a bad offensive line is always a scapegoat for mobile quarterbacks because they hold onto the ball a la Russell Wilson.
Maybe, but it wasn't the problem in Saturday's game. The offensive line was the problem, not Trey Lance. Yeah,
he wasn't holding the ball too long. Gammon says, Grant, your fans give you the nickname Iggy Sweets. What is your response, and will you rock it? Signed, your small yet growing in faith. I don't know where Iggy Sweets come from, but sure, I'll take it, man. Oh, because my dad also calls me Sweetie. I like that. Okay, yeah. I like that.
Calls you Sweetie?
Yeah,
still?
Like, all the time, man. All the time. I'm like, come on, it's not. Please, I'm 30.
I'm 33.
Please. Will Alex Mack's butt sweat be a problem for Trey Lance, who already throws a wobbly ball? BT up fake news. People always say 5-14 without saying 3 blatant drops. I don't know. We're gonna have to ask. I'm gonna need to do a lot of investigation on this butt sweat. Kyle, how much experience is Trey gonna get with this butt sweat? Don't you think he needs some reps with the butt sweat? 49ers first take says, seriously, how bad is the Niners special teams and how bad is our 4th rounder? Ooh, this is something you want to talk about. You want to 90 seconds on Mitch Wishnowsky, go.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a bad punter by any means, but for a 4th-round pick punter that they compared to Michael Dickinson, he is not that guy. And I think part of the problem is I ranted about the special teams already, how they have a special teams that plays not to lose rather than to win. They have a conservative kicker who's very good from 0 to 48 yards. He's not good from 50 plus. He's elderly and he's paid a lot. They have a special teams where returners are very good at catching punts, very good at fair catching, very good at taking touchback on kicks, but you're not getting an explosive play from your special teams at all. They have a punter who's very, very good if he punts from the 40, consistently landing the ball between the 15 and the 10 with a ton of hang time and getting that punt fair caught with no return. But if you punt from the 20, he doesn't do anything to flip field position, almost always puts your defense out near midfield or in your own territory. And those are the type of things where when you draft a punter in the 4th round, not only should he be consistent at landing the ball inside the 20 the way Mitch Wishnowsky is, you would hope that you're drafting a guy with a big enough leg to flip field position because Johnny Hecker does that. Andy Lee does that. I mean, Michael Dickinson does that. So that's where I think it's a conservative special teams. And Wishnowsky is a little bit of a disappointment. And I will say this, he's better than Bradley Pinion, but he's an awful kickoff specialist too. And one thing Bradley Pinion was good at was getting touchbacks consistently. Wishnowsky is not great as a kickoff specialist either.
All right, let me just say one thing. What you said about Wishnowsky is 100% true, but I will accept no Robbie Gould slander on this site because I was on the sideline today at practice and he said, hey, Grant, you're my hero too. Yesterday, I said that a couple of days ago, I tweeted that Robbie Gould is my hero because he's about to retire with $50 million for kicking footballs, which is like a trip if you think about it. You know what? That's the American dream. He's the ultimate OG. And he just said, hey, man, tag me next time. I was
it's like, not that he's I'm not saying he's a bad kicker, bro. I'm just saying that
I'm just kidding.
Above 50 yards, that's not his forte anymore. No, I mean, he missed a kick. He missed the extra point. Yeah.
Yeah, Robbie, what's up with that? We didn't forget.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, I'm still salty that he held out because he wanted to go back to the Bears. Robbie Gould, I live in Chicago. Nobody wants to play for the Bears.
Ooh, Marcus says Jordan Matthews gave a really motivated, genuine speech at the presser. Feel like he has a lot of heart.
I didn't hear it.
That's tight. Joshua says, I'm surprised Kyle and his dad have not talked about mobile quarterback before. I mean, Elway was more comfortable outside the pocket than Jimmy Garoppolo. Dude, what I don't understand is like, look, you guys may not remember the early Kyle Shanahan when he was in Houston with Matt Schaub, but they rolled that dude out of the pocket all the time. And he was the slowest quarterback ever, slower than Jimmy Garoppolo. And now with freaking Trey Lance, is like, no, you keep your ass in the freaking pocket, and it's like play it the right. Like what about Matt Schaub? I'm just saying.
No, I'm interested to see because the bootlegs have actually been something that have kind of disappeared from the Shanahan offense over the last 4 years. And the funny thing is Garoppolo isn't the most athletic at getting the edge, but he is a good thrower when you roll him out on the move. Yeah. And he does throw the ball accurately. And for whatever reason, the bootlegs have now become synonymous with McVay and Stefanski. They do that for their quarterbacks.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. JB Big Bang Bully says, typically Kyle controlling the narrative and not releasing full package have everyone clueless.
Why would he do it though?
I don't know. Yeah. Why does Kyle do the things he does? I can't understand it. But
I'm asking why would he release the full package?
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on to topic number 2. So we've said that we think Trey Lance should be the starter, but he's not getting first team reps, and yet we think that the Niners are handling this correctly, and that may seem kind of weird. Vish, let's explain it. Why don't you explain it?
I think this is masterful, the way they've handled this entire quarterback situation, because basically what they're doing is limiting pressure on a quarterback that already has an immense amount of pressure on him, because this entire every person within the organization, their job is tied to this guy, right? Everybody, Kyle Shanahan's job, John Lynch's job, Mike McDaniel's job, DeMeco Ryans, they're all tied to the success of Trey Lance because they gave up so much to get him.
Right.
And usually when you trade up so much to get a guy, right, you want to he's usually your immediate starting quarterback. I mean, the Jets haven't gotten somebody else to compete with Zach Wilson. Heck, they haven't even gotten a highly paid backup to back up Zach Wilson. They're all in. And the Jaguars, I know that we like taking coaches' specific comments at face value. So maybe a lot of people believed when Urban Meyer said it's a competition between Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence. But I think I didn't believe that. Did you?
No.
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence is starting. Trey Lance is the 3rd overall pick, right? But they've been masterful in their handling of the situation because there's no pressure on him, right? They have a quarterback who they've started, they've won with. And now, if Trey Lance succeeds, Trey Lance will start. But if Trey Lance maybe shows a little bit of rawness or he isn't ready, we have Jimmy Garoppolo. We kept him for a reason, and he can start. Like, I think this idea that Garoppolo's play is somehow relevant to this situation and relevant to when Trey Lance plays is a farce. Because, look, when you trade that much to get a quarterback, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here because I always have to mention the fact that they traded up this much to number 3 overall. You don't draft a guy so you could sit him for 1 year.
Yeah, like Niner fans,
if you were satisfied with that.
Back. If the Raiders did this, it'd be obvious. If the Chargers did this, it'd be obvious. But it's the Niners, and you're emotionally attached to this quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. You've been watching for 4 years, and it's like, well, I don't know what to make of this.
Does anybody think that Andy Dalton is going to survive more than 5 weeks starting in front of Justin Fields?
No, of course.
And they traded up less on draft day.
Of course not. Yeah.
Why do you trade up that much? You're trading up that much to get a starting quarterback.
Right.
And so from that standpoint, basically they've left the door open, and Kyle Shanahan has been actually pretty honest about it. He said he's not opposed to starting a rookie quarterback. He said, and if you notice, obviously a lot of people have documented how they've changed. They went from him being not playing this year to him hopefully competing for the job to John Lynch saying he's pushing him. They're slowly just putting
Kyle
things
saying
on
they're
his
playing,
plate.
they're both playing and sharing time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're just slowly building it up. And eventually he will be the starter for this team. I can't tell you exactly when, but I think it'll be sooner rather than later given what they gave up to get him.
Agree. What I want to say real quick is another thing that I think has been so masterful is, and I don't know if we've talked about it enough. I'm just always on here like, move on, move on, move on. It's so simple. It's very delicate. This is the guy that's been the quarterback of this team for 4 years. And he's got a lot of good friends on the team. They were losers before he got here. They've been winners with him. And although you can point out his limitations, and Kyle clearly knows them, the team traded for Trey Lance. It's apparent. I still think a lot of players on this team are taking the approach of, well, you know, I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. And I think we're getting that tone from George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Mike McGlinchey. I mean, these guys come out and they talk so much about how great Jimmy Garoppolo is and how much he's improved and how confident he is. And that's their right. That's their teammate. And the Niners have created a weird situation where these guys are still on the same team. So I think from Kyle's perspective, he may feel like, I can't necessarily make this call. I need it to be obvious. I need everyone to be on the same page here. And so it seems like, you know, that's going to take as a process, and it's going to take maybe 2 more preseason games, maybe a joint practice with the Chargers. It's going to take more time.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I mean, obviously,
I'm just guessing. It would have to. Jimmy has the support of the locker room. I've been in that locker room. I hear the way they talk about him. It's apparent. And for Kittle to just go all in with a 21-year-old quarterback, he's going to have to see a little more, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah, there's
Kyle's sensitive to that, to his credit. Yeah.
And they've been masterful in the sense that they've also been fair to Garoppolo, I think, throughout this entire process. And to be fair to Garoppolo, he's handled himself as well as anybody could have handled themselves through this process. He's shown the reasons why everybody likes him. He is class personified. I mean,
one more thing, by not, you know, calling it a quarterback competition, or by just basically saying he's the quarterback, he's playing well, they've kept him confident. They've done so much, Kyle in particular, on the record criticism of Jimmy. Well, he's good, but he's good he's good, except this year it's like, nah, he's just good. He's like, forget it. Let's just say he's good. Great. I think that's right. And because I feel like the biggest issue, the biggest change of him now and him before the playoffs is confidence at this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And look, they still need him. They still need him, right? It's not as much like you and I are very bullish on this idea of Trey Lance, but Trey Lance still has 3 more weeks to make it to the season to continue on the trajectory that he's going, and
True.
you'll be able to see that in practice. What happens if tomorrow, Trey Lance, something goes wrong and he's just not playing at the same level he's playing? Well, Garoppolo has been kind of consistent over his last 3 years with the 49ers.
Exactly what you're getting.
All of us have a great idea of what you're getting with Jimmy Garoppolo. So from that standpoint, like if they don't have to force Lance, if there's something that's not right there, that's something, just let's say something goes wrong over the next 4 weeks. Not saying it will. They don't have to force him starting, and that's why they've been masterful in this situation. But I think this idea that they're somehow committed to Garoppolo or they owe Garoppolo anything, that's the part that I really want to drive home. It's just not true. And it's never true if you trade that much up for a quarterback. I'm sorry. That's just how it works.
That's true. Anderson says, what is the ceiling for the team if Jimmy remains a starter for the year? See, I feel like this premise, you can answer it, but to me, this is the false premise with Jimmy Garoppolo. Assuming that he'll play the entire year, he's done that once. I just feel like a big reason why they're moving on from Jimmy is, even if you like his skill set in its limited fashion, I don't think he's shown the durability that is required to be a starting quarterback. So if you start him week 1, if you don't, I mean, Trey's going to start eventually, most likely, this season.
I'll run with the hypothetical. I think he could be exactly what the Rams were last year. Not comparing him and Goff. I think I actually have always felt he's a slightly better player than Goff. But you can get to the playoffs and win a playoff game. That's the idea that I'm trying to.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ramon says, if he's healthy. If Ramon's sorry. Ramon says, Grant, how's your back doing? Better. I know I've been clutching it. I got one of those massagers that with the little. So
what happened to your back?
I'm old. I went to the gym after not going for a week, and the next morning I bent over to pick something up, and something in my mid back really hurt. Ooh. And like anytime you kind of move your head, it hurt. Like you ever have that? It sucks.
Anyway. No, I don't. I'm 21.
Yeah. Ooh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Grant, been following you since the early PD blog days. Thank you, LJ. Impressed how far you developed. I see Vish on the same path. Congrats to both of you. Yeah, Vish can do whatever you want.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
Hey, I appreciate that, Grant.
For sure. Cruz says, from a diehard fan whose favorite player has been Jimmy G for years, I would love to see my team win with Trey. Much love from Citrus Heights, California. I love that positive energy, Cruz. Nice. Way to model good behavior. Mr. Knapp says, did Kyle make Trey sit in the pocket and take sacks to show him this is the worst it gets or something? I don't know, man. Is that tough love? Is it just rigidity? Is it just what we do?
No, I just think he's playing with the twos. And he has to play with the twos. The twos offensive line just happens to be very bad. But also, to be fair, and something people haven't mentioned, is Kansas City does have a very deep defensive line. They have a lot of players that not a lot of people know about, but are elite level athletes or bigger guys. So from that standpoint, yeah, there are a lot of good defensive linemen. And yes, the offensive line struggled, but I don't think it was like forced, because he also made plays from the pocket. It just so happens a lot of his positive plays were hurt by drops.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're running out of time a little bit, but we got a few more topics, so we're going to go a little bit quicker. But I don't want to slow down Vish, because when you get him started, you just can't stop. And he's got a lot to say, which is why this is Mondays with Vish. The rookie cornerbacks, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore. What do you think?
Yeah, I got to see Ambry maybe a little bit more, and it's because, again, when you're watching a game on broadcast, you only see the corner that gets targeted, right? Mm-hmm. You don't really get to see the other one, and Lenore really didn't get targeted as much. And, Lenore had the one pick, right? It was a nice play. He reacted to the ball. He was also beat on the play. A good throw from the quarterback. That's an easy 10-yard completion on the out. He threw to the wrong shoulder. It popped up. Great heads-up play by him. Ambry Thomas, I'm not going to say anything positive or negative. Again, I didn't get to watch the All-22. The one thing that stood out to me about Ambry Thomas is he looked like a walking pass interference in that first preseason game. It might just be jitters from that game. Don't want to write him off. Don't want to say anything, but he was a walking pass interference to me. I thought he could have been called for pass interference 3 different times. I thought if it was the regular season, he would have been called for pass interference, particularly the deep pass when they were a little bit hand fighting. And Ambry Thomas got a nice little shove in with one arm at the end on number 84 on the Chiefs. So, yeah, to me, that was probably my biggest takeaway. Ambry Thomas, I don't know how he's doing in practice. I watched a little bit of him in Michigan here and there. I wouldn't say I was just blown away, but he looked like a 3rd round pick to me. the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway was that that's where you might have difficulty in a league that's so quick to call defensive holding, illegal contact, pass interference.
Yeah.
If he starts or has to play extended minutes, that was a little bit scary.
I wasn't impressed with either corner. I mean, I know Lenore had the interception, but in coverage, I don't feel like either one is that good at the line of scrimmage, and I don't feel like either one gets their head around in coverage. So, like with Ambry Thomas, I was impressed in training camp. He would do a good job in one-on-ones, but they would allow a lot of contact, and his pass breakups against Debo would come on like slants and stuff, where he would basically like hold him in the first 5 yards and then get his long arm in there before Debo could get his short arms out there. That's how he would win. But he's not. I gotta say, he made. I think I want to say he made very few plays in 11-on-11s, and you see him in the game. He's the same way, and he's holding a lot. So I don't really know. I don't really like either of them. That's what happens when you draft corners late. That's what
it is what it is. You're only working with some a certain level of athlete. Like the guys that go, like, look at CJ Henderson. Look at the way he moves on the football field. There's a reason he was a top 10 pick. That guy just moves differently from everybody there. And those are the kind of corners, that go in the top 10, top 15. So, yeah, I agree with that. But, the other thing, if you're mentioning 11-on-11s, I mean, the disconcerting thing for me is, someone who's just a fan who sits at home and tries to consume all Niners content I can, however way it is that a lot of these slow-mo highlight reels they throw, number 20 seems to be on the bad end of quite a few of them when they post the clips, it's positive, right? They're trying to post a positive clip about the offense.
But there's 20.
It just seems like number 20 was the guy that
the other thing when asked like who do you model your game after, he was like, ooh, Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard. I was like, I mean, I respect that you shoot high, but that's not you. Anyway, Gammon says, Vish, first time you were wrong. Niners organization does owe Jimmy one, salvage Colin Lynch's job, way he handled current situation, revenue. Okay. So what do they owe him?
This is not the first time I'm wrong, but I appreciate that, Gavin Brown. Two, he didn't salvage their careers. They were given 6-year contracts before he showed up. They were going to be here for a while,
so
whether
what do they owe him?
Or not.
They can give him a pat in the back, but they don't.
They paid him $125 million. They paid him for this.
For like 30 starts.
Yeah.
They owe it to the organization to start the quarterback who gives them the best chance to win every week. That's the only thing they owe. They paid Jimmy what they owe him.
And the way he's handled the current situation is classy. It's fantastic. It shows what a great human being he is. But that doesn't mean that he's all right. That doesn't mean that you all of a sudden just grant him something. No, that just grants him our admiration that, wow, Jimmy Garoppolo is a class individual.
Good job. Titus says, after his first OTA day, you said Trey lacked consistency in his throwing motion, showing something different every time he threw. Is that fixed? Yeah, his throwing mechanics are way better. He's improved them very much. When he gets his feet set.
It looked like the same motion to me every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyrabel Tadisi says, here's $5. Thank you. All right, moving on.
I think he wanted to ask a question.
Oh, here you go. Seeing how much, my bad. Seeing how much of a professional Jimmy G has been throughout his 49ers tenure, you guys can't see him taking a pay cut if he ends up backing up Trey Lance when the time comes. I think he can. That's why I feel like the Niners may be building up to a week 1 starting of Trey Lance, because that way they can get Jimmy to take the pay cut. Because if they feel like, look, we're going to start Jimmy, but most likely Trey will be starting by week 4 or week 5, then why are you save the money?
Hey, I guess maybe Garoppolo will take it. I don't know. I don't want to comment on another man's money. Yeah.
Man. All right. So, not excited about the cornerbacks. Talanoa Hufanga is undeniably exciting. He pops off the screen. He hits hard. He's around the ball. He's fun to watch. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a guy I have a little better understanding of because I watched a good bit of him at USC. I heard a little bit that this was a safety that the Niners were interested in, so I was able to watch a little bit more of him. And yeah, you know who he reminds me of?
Who?
A guy who didn't play the same position of him, but to me, he's the safety version of Chris Portland.
I could totally see that.
This kind of guy, who has specific athletic limitations, but he's got this instinctive nose for the football that just gets him all the way, always to the football. And it's impressive. And he's a very sure tackler. Chris Borland was as well. And yeah, and I thought he was impressive, especially for a 6th-round pick. He's around the football, he's active, he's a clean tackler. I still think there are limitations to him as an athlete in terms
No
of being
question.
able to
That's why
play
he's
in
a 5th-round
space
pick for
and
sure.
being
Yeah.
able to play in coverage and all of that. But for a 6th-round pick, the way he tackles, I think he's more than a serviceable backup. I think he's a guy that could start. It's definitely exciting.
Yeah, and like people talk about how, can he cover? I don't think he's going to be put in man-to-man cover situations. He shouldn't be. But in terms of like his ability to play single high or split safety zone, seems like he's got the instincts that are necessary. And not like he's jumping passes, like he has a good feel for where the ball's going. Like Richard Sherman, for example. That's the difference between a guy like Asante Samuel, who used to just guess, and a guy like Richard Sherman, who seems to know. It seems like, but it's early. Anyway, it seems like this is a guy who could be starting this year if Tart never comes back. Tart, of course, is a better player, a much better athlete. But Tavon Wilson isn't. I'm just saying. Tavon Wilson is a vet, and they
have
could
no
never
frame of reference. Yeah.
I mean, Tavon Wilson's been around. He looks fine, but Hufanga looks exciting. So this is a very good development for the 49ers.
And yeah,
none of the other rookies.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
I
going to
mean, Borland was effective for the Niners when he played. Now, when people said that, if Patrick Willis goes,
I always dogged Borland, but he was good within his limitations.
Yeah,
he couldn't quite get to the sideline, but between the tackles, my God, he was good.
He was so instinctive.
So good, yeah.
Yeah, and he had a nose for the football, and I think Hufanga's got that same thing, and I think he'll quickly, like Borland, he'll quickly become a fan favorite. I just think that there has to be somewhat of an understanding of what he does well and what he doesn't do well. And in regards to the single high, I know he was put in single high. They went a lot of single high man on 3rd down. I could see that from the broadcast angle. I could see it quite a bit.
With everyone kind of standing around the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. I'd like to wait and actually see the all 22, especially against maybe the 3rd preseason game if he gets a chance to start again, and see how he does and how he covers ground in single high. Because I'm not so sure about him in space. Personally.
Remember though when we had Eric Davis on the show?
Yeah,
and he was like, "Yo, they got to move Richard Sherman to safety," and we were both like, "Yo, but does he have the speed to cover in single high?" And he's like, "I don't even care. Like his instincts will make up for that." And
maybe this guy's like that.
Yeah, well, all I want to say is Hufanga made an interception about a week ago in camp. Rosen threw the ball. I didn't even think it was a bad throw. Like he got all the way outside the numbers and made a high point interception, which is impressive because I've never seen Ward do that. And it's not that Ward isn't good. It's just hard. And I think you really have to break very early. And having 4.4 speed doesn't necessarily make up for that. So just the fact that he did it once in practice makes me feel like, interesting.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't get to see that. Fair enough. Yeah.
Mr. Knapp says, okay, last question. How much do you think the new blocking below the waist will go? How many defensive backs will get lit up by bigger offensive linemen for this? Right. You can't set the edge.
Yo, I saw this.
Yeah.
Do you know who's got the biggest advantage of this?
Who?
San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. That's right.
Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey are going to kill DBs.
Oh, yeah. Good point. McGlinchey's going to have a better year. Hey, Mike, that's good news. Oh, dude says plug Blake and Vish Sports. Yeah.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Blake and Vish Sports. Mike says Trey will start week 1 versus Detroit or post by week 7 versus Indy. Starting him between weeks 3-5, which is Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona, in order would be asinine. That's a very good point. Hey, let me say one more thing. I was talking about this with Josh Dubow today. He's very smart and isn't influenced by the Twitterverse. He's like, look, if week 1 was in Seattle, I wouldn't start him. That's hard. But Detroit and then Philly is kind of ideal. If he looks ready, that's a real good spot to start him. Detroit.
I mean, Green Bay is maybe a possibility because it's the home opener, but then Sunday Night Football versus Green Bay. But Green Bay with Trey Lance in the run game is a pathetic matchup for the Green Bay Packers. So maybe that's there. Seattle, Arizona, it's way too tough to throw them in the first time.
That can't be the first start. Yeah. Shane says, hey, Grant, just wanted to thank you. You've been a huge help for me making the switch from Raiders to the Niners. So here's $5. Vish, you cool too. Are you an Oakland dude who got spurned by the Raiders? The Raiders are just disgusting. Ugh. Anyway, Trey Sermon. I was a little down on him, not because I feel like he's a bad running back, but I feel like if you spend a premium pick on a running back, he almost has to be special because you can get good guys later. And at 2.9 yards per carry, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not seeing this dude creating his own. But You had a very different take, and I'm open-minded. So why don't you tell me what you saw from Trey Sermon?
I thought he looked really good.
Okay.
Really, I thought he looked really good. I know a lot of people were low on him, but I thought they run blocked as a team quite poorly, especially when Trey Sermon was there. I thought he had no space to run. Here's what stood out to me. Trey Sermon consistently made the first guy miss. For a big back, that's quite impressive. He was consistently running with great effort and physicality, and his explosion really was shown for a guy that big, the way he hit the hole and all of that. Like, there was no space to run, but other running backs wouldn't have averaged 2.9 yards a carry was my takeaway watching that. Like, I especially a lot of the backs that in the past that the Niners have deployed, they don't have the power and the ability in tight spaces that Trey Sermon had. I thought there was a lot to be quite bullish on with what you're going to see from Trey Sermon. He is big.
He runs very hard, and he does stop on a dime. I like all of that about him.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he looks like when they have Mack, Williams, Kittle, all those guys in there. Yeah, absolutely. That's fair. That's fair. Okay. That's cool.
Because I thought he played well. Really, I did.
He's very important for this team because when Trey Lance becomes a starter sooner than later, everyone's saying week 7 at the latest. Okay, whatever. They're going to run a lot of zone read, and that is Trey Sermon's thing. He's very, very good at it. So he needs to be good. Otherwise, it's like JaMychal Hasty time or Gallman.
I was a big Cam Akers fan. I loved him last year. I loved him going into this year. Unfortunately, he tore his Achilles. So what happened? I could see Trey Sermon having that kind of emergence week 7, week 8, week 9. This is a guy that can carry the ball like that. And I think he's a lot more explosive than he's given credit for. His explosion stands out in how fast he hits the hole and how quick he's able to move in tight spaces, which are only going to get better once you have Kittle and McGlinchey and Trent Williams just pile driving people to create larger holes and more space for him to run. Not to mention, you brought up Trey Lance. That by itself is going to create quite a bit more space for everybody in the run game.
And I think that Sermon has quite a bit of potential in the under center I formation game, but he doesn't have much experience. And I think early on where he can have just instant success is in the zone read. He did it with Kyler Murray in Oklahoma. People forget that. Also Justin Fields in Ohio State. Marcus says rushing yards prediction if Lance starts all year. Ooh, I like that.
1,000.
You don't understand. They're not going to be conservative with that. No. They're going to use him the way he needs to be used to be successful. Yo, Hafunga reminds me of Troy Polamalu. Thoughts? Yo. I feel that. He works with Troy Polamalu. I feel that. But Troy Polamalu is like a Hall of Famer.
His body language and kind of the way he walks around the field is Troy Polamalu.
I respect
but he's 4.7 all day. Troy Polamalu was 4.3 all day.
Yeah. I mean, Troy Polamalu is a first-round pick, one of the best athletes I've ever seen.
He was a kamikaze missile on the field.
Oh my God, he was so freaking good. Probably the best safety I've ever seen. Him and Ed Reed, I have to say. I mean, John Lynch was great too, but Polamalu was.
To me, it's Ed Reed all day, but I'll take.
They were different, but Polamalu was the things he could do around the line of scrimmage crazy. J Money Magic.
Not to turn this into an Ed Reed Polamalu conversation, I always make the argument that if you watch, I was young, but I've gone back and watched it and stuff. If you watched Ed Reed early in his career, he was freaky good around the box, and nobody could do the things.
I remember him in Miami, man. He had so many picks in Miami. He's so good.
Yeah, and the crazy thing with Ed Reed was that he was coverage sound and being able to make these picks. He wasn't a guy who would leave his assignment to go pick off the ball.
No, he was unreal. He might have been better than Earl Thomas. I mean, young Ed Reed was damn good.
Young Ed Reed is the second best DB I've ever seen.
I gotta say he was better than Earl Thomas because I just based off of what he did in college. Go back and watch Ed Reed in Miami. It was ridiculous. Outstandingly good. He got Philip Buchanan drafted in round 1, just being hella good.
Really?
Philip Buchanan was not good.
I remember
the Raiders took him. Yep. Yeah. All because Ed Reed was a freaking baller in Miami. I don't know why I remember this, but I do.
For me, he's the second best DB I've ever seen behind Revis.
That's fair. I'll take him over Revis. We're getting way off topic. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that another time. J Money says generational talent. Trevor Lawrence wasn't impressive either. Whoa, 2 sacks. Hey, his first play he fumbled. Didn't run, no TD, bad throws. If that's Trey's floor, imagine his ceiling. Yes, I mean it just shows you that you can't read anything.
Yeah, but I didn't think that was Lance's floor at all.
Nah.
No, yeah.
And I thought Trevor Lawrence made a few throws that were really nice.
And real quick, a lot of people are bringing up Sanders and Lott. I'm 21. I did not watch Deion Sanders, and I did not watch Roddy Lott.
I know he's wise beyond his years,
about,
but give him a break. I mean, the guy's never even heard of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. That's what we're working with here, people.
Well, who?
Yeah. Francisco Alvarez says Trey Sermon is not Mostert. He didn't get 5 yards of carry, but he did get first downs in short yard situations. That's what we need. Yeah, it's a good call. I like that the Niners finally have a complimentary committee as opposed to 3 scat backs.
And to be fair, come on, there was no space to run the football. I don't know how Raheem Mostert would have looked yesterday.
You're absolutely right. Okay, last topic, and it's a bit of a downer, but it's very important. The offensive line depth. I'm not saying the offensive line is bad because it might not be. Brunskill's solid. Alex Mack has had a terrific career, and Mike McGlinchey has had good years too. But the depth, it doesn't exist. I mean, School's out. Banks is hurt. Didn't look good. Colton McKivitz hasn't looked good.
Jalen Moore.
And basically what I want to say is I don't think you can make it that far with zero depth in the offensive line. They have to find a way to address this at some point in the season, don't you think? Not to lead you. Aren't I right?
No.
Yeah.
And the only reason is because we have a point of reference for this exact situation.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
2019, they went into the season with all these young guys and young offensive linemen. Really, like, we're talking about these guys. The issue is that offensive line takes development, and that's why teams like having veteran backups, right? That's why they went and paid $3.5 million for a Tom Compton that can play multiple positions in an offensive line as a veteran backup. Because ideally, you want an 8-year guy as the backup for multiple positions, you know? But 2019, they went into the season, Sean Coleman got hurt, and they were able to make it work with School and Brunskill starting multiple games. I think from that standpoint, I think they can manage it with Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks, who I'm still high on. I liked what I saw in college. Now, I'm not the best evaluator of offensive line play. I usually stay away from it just because it's a lot more nuanced than just watching a guy individually, especially guards, because you have to know so much about the assignment, where they've kicked the protection, how they've slid the protection, all of those kinds of things, where he's supposed to get help in terms of for whether he's getting help, he's expecting help from the back, he's expecting help from the center inside. All those things you have to be able to know, and it's difficult to learn all those things, and I never wanted to learn them, so that's why I stay away. And I thought Banks was just a good fit because I saw a hell of an athlete at his size and speed running outside zone and running inside zone and looking good in pass pro in terms of being strong and being physical. So I'm still high on him, but I think that this offensive line, look, is the depth concerning? I'm not going to sit here and tell you it isn't, right? Because Trey Lance was given zero protection on Saturday. It was not ideal, right? They were getting whipped off the ball. But like I mentioned, it was against a good defensive line, a defensive line with a ton of depth. And I think that these guys are going to get eventually better. I think it's tough to write them off after one preseason game. And I think in terms of getting depth, I think the only thing they're going to be able to do is sign maybe a veteran guy that gets cut from a different roster and add him to this offensive line. Because frankly, and we talked about this ad nauseum, you and I used to go back and forth about this during the season when we would talk about whether it's Nick Mullins or whether it's the offensive line. There's just not that many good offensive linemen in the NFL, and you're just better off developing these young guys and just trying to get them as much experience as you can within your system and try to get them as ready to play as possible so they can at least do what School and Brunskill did, which was at least barely, be competent enough to be playable.
It's true. Look, you make a lot of good points. It's just the problem is that Brunskill's a starter now and School's gone. And let's say, I think the Niners are in a position, and maybe I'm being a little too dramatic here, but I feel like I don't think they can win a game without Trent Williams. I mean, they can win a game without Trent Williams, but it's hard. I think it's going to be hard. And he misses a couple of games a year. He got hurt today in practice. It may not be serious, but he could miss. You got to count on him missing 2 games. And if he does, is that just 2 losses? Because, Sean Coleman's hurt too. He can't make it through a freaking game without getting hurt. He got hurt in his first preseason game. He's got hurt in preseasons before. I mean, the swing tackle is Jalen Moore, who they wanted to play guard. So I think that this is a freaking problem. And I mean, as long as they got their starting 5, they should be fine. But if they don't, you're right. Like, what are they going to do? What are you going to do?
I think we looked at it the same way in 2019, right? Yeah. And when the Joe Staley, Mike McGlinchey injury happened, we were shocked by the performance. And I think there are ways they can
better be able to do that again. Yeah.
And they didn't do those things for their offensive linemen in terms of protecting them. On because it's a preseason game.
Yeah,
I mean, Shanahan is the master of invariable snap count. That wasn't seen.
That's true.
He's the master of misdirection. That wasn't seen. He's the master of the screen game. All of those things were not there. You know, like they wanted this offensive line and to look better and Trey Lance to look better. Instead of dropping them back in the 2-minute drill, they could have called like 6 different screens to the running back and to the receiver, and they could have called a push pass to Nasima Webster and done a lot of things like that to make it look better. Because frankly, like we talk about this starting offensive line, and obviously Trent Williams is a Hall of Fame level player. The rest of this offensive line has their strengths and weaknesses, but just pure pass protection is not the strength of this offensive line as a whole. So a pure pass situation, I think even if the starters that started, if you pull Trent Williams out and you insert whoever, Jalen Moore, Sean Coleman, whoever you want, and you go Mike McGlinchey, Brunskill.
The guy's name is whoever. It's his name. It's his official name. Whoever, number 0.
Lakin and who started at center? I'm blinking.
Brendel, freaking Jake Brendel, something like that.
Yeah. He started at center, and you have them do, and you have technically the ones, and you have them block for Trey Lance in that same situation. I think they would have struggled too. Maybe not as bad, but I think they would have struggled.
Yeah. Okay. It's my job to be a little to be like the Jewish warrior because 1, I'm Jewish, and 2, I'm quality control. So I'm just doing my job. Figure it out, guys, because I think it's a big problem. I think it's a bigger issue than the defensive back.
DBs. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a serious issue. I mean, we'll see. Anyway,
I think it's an issue. I don't want to say that I'm not thinking it's an issue. I just don't think it's a solvable one. So you just have.
It's true, right? I mean, you lost school. You can't count on Coleman. You got Jalen Moore. You got Colton McKivitz. Make it work. Now, if someone gets waived, be all over that. And if you can make a move at the deadline, do it, please.
Okay. Can I tell you, Grant, one thing though?
Yes.
Watching that offensive line, you know what my first thought was?
What?
I'm very interested to watch Moher, Zach Kerr, all these guys, Arden Key throughout the preseason. Arden Key did have a hell of a rep where you
are they good or was it just
Brown around the edge? Yeah, that's what I wanted to see.
That's a great point. All right, we got to go kind of fast because I got to wrap this up. Have you discussed Werner? He's been better. I didn't see anything from him last year. He looks better.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, someone DM'd me. I'm sorry. I forgot his name. I didn't want to call him some guy. And he wanted me to ask you about Jordan Matthews versus Charlie Warner. Real quick.
Oh, they're so different, but I would have to give the edge to to Werner. He's bigger, he's a better blocker, and he's making catches. So good for Warner. Matthews is learning the position. And I wouldn't even say he needs to have a spot in the roster. You could probably put in the practice squad and pick him up every day as one of the 2 practice squad guys who gets called up. Aaron Banks in college was a men amongst boys. Aaron Banks in the NFL is a boy amongst men. Yeah, it happens a lot to people. I've seen it a lot. And usually the only ones it doesn't happen to are the first round picks. Honestly, Fred Warner was a boy amongst men his rookie year. Go back and watch him in that number 48 uniform get kind of dragged around the field. He was good, but he looked a whole lot different. Kittle did too.
Fred Warner, if you remember, Fred Warner was really good in coverage as a rookie. He really struggled in the run game.
He would get knocked back.
Running, but yeah.
Salah would call it leaky yardage. It was like the yards after contact. Anyway. All right, that's our show, Vish. Thank you so much. It's 9:15 in Chicago. You're still on your summer break. I always appreciate you giving me your time, man. This was a hell of a show. We both rocked the polka dots today, which was totally organic. We didn't plan it. I'll be back tomorrow. The Niners have their final practice in Santa Clara tomorrow morning at a 9:45. So I'll be back doing the same thing. And then day off Wednesday, Costa Mesa, Thursday, Friday. I'm heading down there. I'll see you guys there.
Who are you most excited to see? Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I want to see what Justin Herbert and Trey Lance look like side by side. Because comparing Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo probably makes me more excited about Lance than I necessarily should be. Because nothing against Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like looking at a Porsche while it's next to a Dodge Charger. It's like, that's a really nice Porsche. Yeah, exactly. All right. See everyone. Thanks for watching. Oh, wait, hold on. They had Touch, Richie James Jr., Warner, and more. Trey had, exactly. Exactly.
It was still a little more of a flatline delivery, but it did have touch on it. You're right. Yeah.
He did. Yeah. Thank you, the Mech. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, guys. See ya.